Hi, Runner Story family. This is Allison Gilliard with Runner Story, where every story needs to be heard. And I'm so excited to share with you guys about our podcast partner of the month. I wanted to share this before I introduce you guys to the upcoming stories that you're about to hear. And our podcast partner of the month is Do Goods Mercantile. Guys, if you know anything about me personally or anything about Runner Story, if you followed, you know that Do Goods Mercantile has been highlighted. I absolutely love Annie and Chops. They are phenomenal human beings. I cannot say enough great things about Do Goods Mercantile. Their vision is to provide goods for the greater good. Annie and Chops and the gang can help you Christmas shop with a purpose. So purchase with purpose at Do Goods. Guys, they have everything. I get my jewelry from there. I get my Christmas gifts from there. They got candles. They got home goods. If you have somebody that is hard to shop for, go to Do Goods. They are going to find something. It is so creative. Everything there in that store has a purpose, a mission, something behind it that impacts locally and globally. So definitely go check out Do Goods. Make sure when you do that you tell them that you want to use the code RYS20. They are giving 20% off an item at Do Goods, and I am so incredibly grateful for Annie and Chops. They believe in Runner Story, and in fact, you should go listen to Annie's story because we've interviewed her, and we interviewed the story behind Do Goods, so definitely go check them out. We absolutely love Do Goods. It's one of our favorite local shops. I love getting my Christmas gifts from there. I love getting gifts from there. My doormats from there. Like, listen, I've got a lot of stuff from Do Goods. So, love Do Goods. So definitely go check them out. You'll love Annie and Chops and the crew there. They are phenomenal human beings. They love to help you. They love to serve. They're just incredible human beings. You can find them at 202 St. Michael Street. You can also find them at dogoodsmercantile.com. You can shop online, and again, I cannot say enough great things. So definitely go check out my friends, Do Goods Mercantile, who is our podcast partner of the month. We absolutely love them, and keep up the good work, guys. We love you. And wow, I'm just gonna go ahead and warn you guys, this is probably one of the hardest interviews I've ever done. And I've had to think really long and hard about the intro for this. I've cried a lot over this interview because it is just so gut-wrenching, which is also a warning for everyone listening. You probably don't want little kids around, and also pack some extra tissues. This one was hard, and this is not a typical format that we did either. Thankfully, Gray Gilliard, our editor, was with us. We were at the running event, and Dena Lewis, who is the creator of Running Mate, and Abby Lokits, who is the sister-in-law of Alyssa Lokits, who now a little over a month ago was killed in a trail in Nashville while working out, an avid runner. So both these women talk about their hard stories, all very different. I really didn't know what to ask, to be honest. And all I can say is I really hope that in some way this helps Alyssa's family. And to Alyssa's family, I'm so sorry for what you've gone through. You guys don't deserve this. Alyssa didn't deserve this. I think one of the biggest takeaways was talking to Abby and seeing how Abby and the family is trying so hard to carry the light in this very dark time. And so to Alyssa's family, thank you for sharing her story, because it's one we won't get to share, but you guys will carry her story along with you. And Abby also shares about how the Women's Marathon was there as a way to help in this dark moment. And I think that is the beauty in running. And as Dena talks about that in her situation and part of her story, as she will share, is that it was taken away for a little bit. And I'm incredibly proud to know her and to know her mission of the Running Mate. And if you guys don't know, go follow her on social media. I also encourage you guys to go follow Run for Alyssa. I think that it is so important that we do that. I think it's so important that we speak out volumes, that we allow our voices to be heard in saying that we just want to run. We just want to run. We want to be left alone. We want to run with our community. Sometimes we need to run alone because of the time of day it is. But no one should ever feel like they can't go for a run and come back home. And so I know this was not a chapter that neither Dena nor Abby wanted, but they are making the most of this chapter. And I am incredibly grateful that they asked us to share their story. And again, it's not a typical one. Again, it has taken me time and time again to do an intro. Honestly, guys, not an intro I wanted. I was like, I don't even know how to put this into words. And so my hope is that this represented these ladies very well and this family very well. And so to Dena and to Abby, thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for being the light in the very darkness that you're combating for all of us to be able to run. And so again, to Alyssa's family, we're running for you. And I think we'll all think about her every time we cross the finish line. So thank you so much to Running Mate creator and founder Dena Lewis, and to Abby Lokits, who is the incredible, strong, and amazing sister-in-law of Alyssa. And so again, to Alyssa's family, my heart is broken for you. And we will be here to do whatever we can to help, because you guys didn't deserve this at all. So guys, here we go. Come run with these two incredible women and their run stories. Thanks, ladies, for being here, making time. We're at the TRE for the running event, and we've connected. And I'm really excited about, we're going to go first. Like, how did you get into running? Like, how does your story begin?
So actually, I've been running for about 20 years. I have kids, and when my kids were babies, it was my therapy, putting them in the stroller and just going out, getting outside, getting away from the house. My kids are very close together in age, so it really was my only sanity. And then as they got older and went to school, I just realized that I needed the running more than anything else. So I started running longer distances, and then from there, signed up for my first race, and it was a 5K, and then the rest is history. I started running half marathons, ultras, and have done 2 triathlons.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me, it's been 20 years of running.
Yeah. Let's also talk about, how did Running Mate get started? What's the story behind that?
Yeah. So in my 20 years as a runner, I think this is a topic very near and dear to most women, is I've been harassed countless hours of times, leading up on dogs, the unwarranted comments, the follows. I've had a few scary incidents there, but I've been physically assaulted twice. And so my first assault was in 2010. And I was, he's a crowded sidewalks in the middle of the day, and I was grabbed and assaulted. And so for me, I went into really a shell after that happened. There is actually a statistic that 21% of women stop doing the activity after something like that happens. I became part of that statistic, and I ended up having to really go through therapy to get through it, because it was affecting my family life. I was projecting on my kids. I was afraid from who was going to them. Obviously, between my husband and I, it affected us.
Sure.
And so once I moved through and got the help I needed, I then got back into running, and then it happened again. So the second time it happened, I got angry. I was really angry, because I wasn't going to let that be taken away from me a second time, because the empowerment I felt after going back to running, after it happened the first time, was so incredibly strong that there was no way I was letting that go. And so I just figured I had to do something, and I didn't know what it was. And kind of like what you said about how you got your start, I was in a hotel room one day, and I had this nudge that I would literally pay someone to run with me right now. And I thought, well, that's interesting. But I went on my way, and then a couple of months went by, and then that nudge became a push. And then finally it was a full-on shove. And the idea was very clear, and I needed to do something that women would actually use. And so being a female runner, I don't like running with people. I like running by myself. That is my dimension. And I didn't want that to be taken away from me. So if I was going to create something, I wanted it to be something that women could still, it was still on their terms, the pace they wanted to run, the distance they wanted to run, and even if they don't want to talk to somebody. So that's where this whole concept came about. And we're literally, people call us Uber for runners. So that's what we are. We have runners and mates on the platform. Everyone is background checked, and mates get paid, but they literally are equivalent to like an Uber driver. So we like Uber for runners.
That is so cool. Wow, that's amazing. Great. How did your story begin?
Yeah, so I've been a runner for about 10 years. Started in a very similar way of having young kids and just needing an outlet to get outside for my mental health, for physical health. So after having my second, I started running with him, and we would just, in the stroller, run miles together during his morning naps. And then from there, I trained eventually for my first race. I've done a few half marathons, I've done a couple triathlons, and just fell in love with the sport in general. It's just the same thing. It's just such a time for myself. It's such a rejuvenating thing for me to do for my mind, my body, and my spirit. So yeah, I have always loved it. And most recently, my sister-in-law, Alyssa, was murdered while out on a run in Nashville, Tennessee, just over a month ago. And that was the catalyst for me just needing to do something. I've had my own share of uncomfortable experiences while running, but this was an enormous, horrifying, awful, terrible wake-up call of how scary it is out there and how unsafe it is. So that's how I ended up here. Alyssa and I ran a lot together. We very much enjoyed being active and being outside and holistically living very healthy lifestyles. So we bonded in that. So it's very near and dear to my heart, not only as a runner myself, but also as the loved one of someone I cared about just so much.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to cry. I'm trying to be, because that sucks. That's just, I don't even know what to say. Like that's just, she was just out running, doing what we all love. And yeah, that.
Yep.
So I thank you though for being her voice and for being here and for sharing your story, and Rusu. Thank you. So obviously there have been some lessons, some tough lessons that have been learned through running, and you've both kind of shared those, but what is some that you would, when you think back to running, you're like, this is what I've learned through running?
So running in general is an endurance sport. And I don't think there's any other sport that you can say you could gain more life lessons from than that. And it's endurance. It teaches you that even in the worst of times, you have to keep moving forward. And sometimes you don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's a love-hate related. You could be in a marathon and you're mile 13 and you're thinking, what am I doing? What possessed me to pay to want to do this? And then you cross that finish line and you're in pain, but you realize that it was an accomplishment that you can look back on and say, wow, less than 2% of the population is done. You know, which seems weird when you're in the running space. It feels like everybody in the world is running.
Right.
So I think it's just endurance. That's been my biggest lesson in being a mom, a wife, and a business owner. If I didn't have endurance, you know, there's no way that I could sit here today. So for me, it's that biggest lesson. Really. I have to piggyback on that, I think. Endurance and then also resilience. I have lived through some pretty dark, hard seasons in life, as we all have. And I feel that knowing that you can push your body and that you can do hard things with your body, like running, it proves to me that I'm resilient, right? And I can do hard things, even if it's not a physical hard thing. I can do emotionally hard things. And that's just one example of pushing myself and being resilient.
That's good. Oh, I love that. As a woman, what is something that we as women can do for one another in the running world?
So I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the last month is the importance of community and protecting each other and supporting each other and educating each other. I think that above all else is important, looking out for each other. I have met some incredible professionals in the running industry in just a short month. And it just really goes to show how genuine people are in this and how much they care for others. And we just need to keep lifting each other up. You know, I think that is the biggest thing. We all want to do what we love, and there shouldn't be any barrier to that. And we need to continue lifting each other up to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I second that for sure. I think I cite a stat a lot.
At 58% of running now is women. So we now outnumber men in this sport, or in this race, really. And running it's a challenging still to be a woman in the running space when you are an owner or a founder or in this side of the business, I think. And so creating that community has been, for me, more important than my app. I created the app because I wanted to be able to provide something in the community that could keep women safe. But what that app taught me was that it was more than just me. Bigger picture, it's not about me and it's not about my app. And like with the summit, the Female Runner Safety Summits, it became very evident early on that if we were genuinely going to make a difference, it was going to take more than me. And so that became a life of its own by bringing other women onto this journey where we all have the same mission and we all do it differently. And instead of fighting against each other, we need to support each other and lift each other up and help each other get to the finish line in all essence, because that's our purpose.
Yes.
And to get to that finish line, we just want to be able to go out every day and do it. And we need to be able to do it safely. And so we have to make a difference. And that means we have to come together and do it.
And I think it's important, piggybacking again, what you're saying, that there is no one right answer. There's no one resource, right? Because every woman's definition of safe is different.
Sure.
So what one woman might think is safe to them might look differently to another. And so I think having that bank of resources is essential, because then you're reaching so many more people.
That's really good. That's good. I want to talk about a favorite running memory, because I know we all have that when we think about, oh man, there's just this, when I think about running, this is what gets me excited. Do you have one?
Gosh, I have many. I honestly want to say there's a couple that I would say are favorite memories because they were accomplishments for me. My first ultra, my first triathlon. If I could actually talk briefly about two. The first one, my favorite memory as a runner was my very first 5K that I ran. And for obvious reasons, it was my first race. But my husband and my kids were at the finish line. And for me, that was a memory. Like, I'll never forget the look on my kids' faces when they saw me. They were sitting in their store and they saw mommy. So that is a memory that will stick with me forever. And my daughter is now 19 and my son is 20, and I still drag them to races. And they're still at the finish line, and they hate it. I do it on Thanksgiving every year.
The same. We
And
do
I'm
too.
like, y'all better be there. I don't care if anything else happens here. We don't even have to eat turkeys. You better be at the finish line. And so that is one memory that I just will never get out of my head. But honestly, my first ultra that I did, it's a strong memory for me just because I had overcome another really big life change. And I was going into another season of life, and I had breast cancer, and I had to go in for a double mastectomy. And I purposely scheduled that ultra 1 month prior to my surgery because all the training, first of all, it kept me busy. It kept my mind off of it. It kept me occupied. It kept me in incredible physical condition. And I knew that when I did that ultra, that what was coming, it wasn't going to beat me. That if I could finish that race, that what was to come on the other side was going to be a cakewalk. And actually, thank God I did, because it was extremely hard, but I was in good physical condition. So that for me was another memory that I think I'll always remember.
I have two as well.
Of course, overachievers do that, guys. That's what overachievers are.
So the first one that was really special to me was I was newly pregnant with our daughter, my youngest, and I was going to do a triathlon relay. I was doing the running portion alongside two friends. And I was, I think, just entering my second trimester. And as the announcement to my pregnancy wrote on my belly, "Oh, baby," or something like that in Sharpie. And then it was an Olympic triathlon, so ran the 10K or whatever. And it was so special. Like, it was just really, really special. I ran it slow as heck. I did it. And she's like, that's just a memory I have of my having her. And then the other one was just a couple days ago. In the midst of grieving the loss of our sister, I emailed race directors at the Every Woman's Marathon and asked if there would be any way that we could be let into registration, because it had been closed, to be able to run the race in her honor. And they let us in and comped us for it, which was incredible. And we were able to run it as a team. And I had thought that it was going to be a relay when I first told my family. It was not. I discovered this midway through registration, that each one of us would have to run the full 26 miles. And so when I told my brother-in-law and sister-in-law that, they were like, oh God, what have you done? But we did it. I ran the whole thing without any training. I ran it, ran the entire thing. And it was one of the most incredible experiences being able to run for her at an event like that, especially. So those are my two big ones.
Man, that's so good. How did your family, what did they say after the finish line?
But believe it or not, they were not surprised.
Oh,
yes. They were like, oh, of course you ran the entire thing without training, Abby. Like, that was, not a surprise to them, but everybody was really happy. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And amazing that a racing organization would do that. Would say, yes, come on, like, we've got you. Again, as you spoke, like the community aspect, showing up and being there.
And the energy there was just absolutely incredible. I have to recommend that race to any person. Yeah, it was just so uplifting and empowering.
So a question I like to ask, especially to seasoned overachievers like yourselves, as you have said, what is some advice that you would give to anyone, but especially a woman that wants to get into running or walking? What is something that you would make sure that you would want them to know?
My biggest thing is do what makes you feel best. Everybody's fitness journey is unique, and there is no right or wrong way to go about it. And I think some of us run ultras, some of us run marathons, some of us might walk. And that's okay. There is no right or wrong answer. It's about doing what makes you feel best and being proud in that and confident in it.
That's good.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. There is enough judgment in the world. Yeah, and I feel like we don't need it when we're trying to make ourselves better. And so, like she said, do what is good for you. And there is a lot of pressure, I think, in the space of other people running, and especially for women, you tend to get intimidated. I'm not good enough. I'm not fast enough. I can't. And I think that's just innate in us. But whatever it looks like to you is good and is successful. And even if that is walking, like she said. And I think that also goes to when I created Running Mate, is that I wanted people, specifically women, to understand that you don't have to be an ultra runner or a marathon runner, or you don't even have to be a race runner, a 5K runner. You can be a walker. That it is not about how fast you go or how far you go. It's about the journey and the fact that you're actually doing it. That's what should matter. And they should feel good about that no matter what.
Oh, so good. When you want to give up, when it's hard, do you have a mantra? Is there something that you tell yourself?
I can't cuss, but in our family, we have a saying.
Okay.
We just get stuff done.
Okay.
We don't say stuff. The Lewis just get stuff done. People have that. That's our mantra. Yeah. It's simple, but that's our mantra.
That's great.
Yeah. My new one, this is new, is what would Alyssa do? Because she was just such a badass of a woman. And that's a newly developed one, but I'd come to that one a lot. Of what would she do? How can I emulate her and what she stood for?
When you aren't running, you both have talked about your family, but what else are you passionate about? What fuels you off the pavement?
Well, this does couple a little bit, but it's not just a talk. It's not just something that I'm saying. It truly is the mission for me. It is to keep more fit safe. I mean, that is, I was put here. It took me almost 52 years to realize that, but that is my purpose. That's my mission. So that is very, very clear to me, and that's my passion. Aside of that, I do love every minute I get it with my kids. They're both in college now, so those moments are few and far between. So I do value them so much more than I ever did before. And then boating. My husband and I love to go boating. So that's like our thing. We love to boat. Yeah.
And if somebody wants to find out about Running Mate, how do they do that?
So our website is, pretty much all of our stuff is Get Running Mate. So getrunningmate.com is our website. Our Instagram is @GetRunningMate. That's where we're most active. We can be downloaded on both the App Store and Android, which is just Running Mate. Our logo, it's black with the little blue letters in the middle. But yeah, Instagram's probably, and I'm on LinkedIn as well too, so people can reach out.
So before doing this, I was a librarian.
Stop. Yeah. Wait. So I had to ask, did you people in the in the library.
I was actually not a shifter. I became a shifter.
Did you, the commercial that has little ladies that are like, we're bad. Did you eat pizza in the library?
That's amazing. No, I've not seen that commercial. But a big mission of librarians is to provide equitable access to information. And so what I'm finding is that through this work I'm doing now, I want to be able to provide access to resources and information equitably. And I think that my mission and my focus from my work for 10 years as a librarian comes into play with that. Because I believe every single woman, every single man, doesn't matter, human, needs to know about what's available to them and the resources that are available. So that is something I'm very passionate about. I have 3 kids, 2 boys and a little girl, very involved, very active kiddos. So always running around with them. We're big snowboarders. We live out in Denver. So love to get up to the mountain and snowboard every weekend. My kids are better than me now at this point. So that's really fun to see. Basically anything active and outside is what fuels me. So
Is it okay that I ask this question? It may be like a terrible question, but how are you guys as a family right now?
That's a question a lot of people ask. And it's
a loaded one.
Yeah, it's as you would expect, right? It has been the most unimaginable nightmare that anyone could ever imagine going through. But it has been incredible how our family has rallied together and grown together through this. That despite this grief that we often feel like we're just drowning or suffocating in the grief, we're able to see the impact that her legacy could potentially make on this world. And I think that's the driving force of why I'm here and why I'm continuing to do what I'm doing, is because there's that tiny sliver of hope that despite all of the awfulness, that we'll be able to bring some impact to. Like my husband very eloquently said, Alyssa's younger brother, we have to live with this for the rest of our lives. There's no escaping it. There's no running away from it. So we might as well make a change in the world while we're at it, right?
So how does somebody find out if somebody wants to get involved, somebody wants to advocate? How do we go about doing that?
So we're still figuring that all out.
Okay. Hey, absolutely.
Dena has been a just invaluable resource connecting me with people. Also, we do have a social media account run for Alyssa. That's basically where we've been funneling all of the information that we have. We're working on getting a foundation started in her name, but that's a process.
Sure.
We're also working on getting a race event in her honor in Nashville.
Wow.
So if y'all can make it out there,
That's
March 8th. That's the hope. Okay. And this week was a lot of trying to build relationships with potential partners and sponsors for this race event that we're putting on. We have a really great race director that I think is going to be a good fit for that event. She was one of the directors for Every Woman's Marathon. So lots of good things down the pipeline. Not a great way to find all the information yet, but the Run for Alyssa Instagram account is our main source.
I cannot tell you, thank you so much for taking time out of TRE. I know you guys have been everywhere in between, and it's a huge room back there, but thank you for taking time. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this and to share your stories. And do you have any final words of wisdom?
Just keep running. Even if you're afraid, keep running.
Yeah, I think that's it. And we know it's an issue, but we don't ever want it to be fear-mongering or to overpower so much that you're paranoid and afraid that you can't go out into it. There are resources, there's tips, there's help. Just keep doing it. It makes a difference for your mental health, and that's super important.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you for being movers and shakers and speaking out and being a voice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No. Wow. 2 incredible, extraordinary women whose families are forever changed, who they are forever changed. And now we must be forever changed. And I just want to say thank you again to Abby and to Dena and for sharing your stories, because this wasn't easy. This wasn't what you asked for. It's not what your families asked for. And I'm incredibly honored to know you. And as somebody who runs with running buddies, I cannot imagine no longer having my running buddies with me. And so, Abby, I'm so sorry that you no longer have your running buddy. And that Alyssa will never get to experience another finish line. So my goal for our community is that we remember Alyssa every time we cross the finish line. And we say time and time again on this podcast is that we're all connected with our stories. And as Dena has shared and as Abby has shared, now their stories are part of our stories. And may we take them every training run, every group run, every finish line. May we be stronger because of them. And may we carry their stories with us. I am incredibly honored that they entrusted this podcast to share their mission and their stories. And again, I hope that this honors both of these women and their families. And thank you for entrusting us with this. And again, as I told them at the running event after we talked and they shared their stories with us, is that I said, you have the Runner Story platform. Whatever that looks like, however you want to use us, and we will be that voice. What they don't know is that in the past, I have told friends, and it's been said here on the podcast, that I was given a loud voice for a reason. And I wasn't meant to change the world, but I was meant to help those that can. And I will do that. And I will run for Alyssa and her family. And I will think about Dena every time. I can't help but be impacted by this. And I pray that no other family has to go through what so many have gone through recently in the past couple of years. And that is their daughter, their friend, their sister goes out for a run and doesn't come back. So to Alyssa's family, I pray that this has honored you. And to Dena, I pray that this has honored you in your mission. And again, whatever we can do to help, we want to be that. And again, thank you to Do Goods Mercantile so much for supporting this podcast. And I want to say this, I did go ahead and tell Annie up front. I said, listen, this will be the first podcast that comes out for the month of December. And she said, you got it. And she supports this podcast and we support Do Goods. So definitely, guys, go check them out. Go love on Annie and the gang at Do Goods. Go do some shopping. Don't forget to mention RYS20 for that special discount. Tell them you listen to Run Your Store and you want that Run Your Store discount. Again, you can also order online. If you have any issues with that, you can email them and they'd be more than happy to assist you. And I cannot wait to show you guys what I go by because I'm so excited to go Christmas shopping, and I always get myself something too because they have such incredible stuff, and I absolutely love shopping with a purpose and making a difference. And I thank Do Good so much for allowing us that opportunity to do that, to know that our gifts make a difference, makes an impact, and that's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing. So thank you, Annie and Chops, for what you're doing in the community. You make it better, you make it stronger, and you've given us a really cool place to shop. So thank you to Do Goods. Thank you for believing in Run Your Story, and I just absolutely love you guys so very much. As always, thank you to Greg Gilliard for Gilliard Tech Services for editing this podcast. He was there with me for the running event, and just incredibly grateful he was able to take out some of the background noise because we actually sat outside of the running event, and it was great. People were walking by, and he did his very best to minimize that. And so I'm truly grateful for his talents that he has, believing in the running community, and the heart that he has. So I'm truly grateful for that. So thank you so much to Gilliard Tech Services. Definitely check him out for updating your website or creating a new one. To our Patreon supporters, thank you for being along with us every step of the way and for loving us so well and giving us guidance, especially for this podcast, for sharing this story. This was a hard one, and you guys were with me every step of the way, and I really appreciate that with all the guidance that you guys gave. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you like, share, comment on this story. We want to make sure that the story gets out and it gets heard. Whoever can make a difference to keep us safer as runners, as people that want to move, as people that want to be healthy, as people that want to have finish lines. Let's get these messages out there. Let's get these stories out there. And that way we can all cross the finish line. So until next time, guys, go run your story, because every story needs to be heard.